Hello everyone, welcome in the session of Social and Preventive Pharmacy. Today I will present the topic prevention and management of hypertension. Students, what is hypertension? It is nothing but the pressure exerted by the blood on the wall of artery. When it excess than normal, it is called hypertension. What is our normal blood pressure? It is 120 by 80. 120 is the systolic blood pressure and 80 is the diastolic blood pressure. When it rises than normal value, then it can be called as hypertension. Hypertension is defined as the systolic blood pressure of 140 mmHg or greater, or diastolic blood pressure of 90 mmHg or greater, or taking antihypertensive medications. Types of hypertension: essential hypertension, it is almost 95%, no underlying cause. Secondary hypertension, underlying cause, means they are having certain causes. Causes of secondary hypertension: first, renal. As we all know, the one organ is having impact on another organ. For example, renal, our kidney, they are having great impact on our heart, on our hypertension. Also there are another organ like adrenal gland, our endocrine system, they are also having effect on our heart. Now in renal, the parenchymal cells, they are having effects on our, for example, nuclear denser cell, they are having effects on our heart. And also vasculars, means the blood vessels which are from kidney, they are also having effects on our hypertension. And also some other things, for example the principal cells, or the ADH, or aldosterone, or collecting duct. So these are the parts, or these are the areas which are having effects, which are the part of our renal system from the kidney, and they are having effects on our heart. So the symptoms, for example, the sodium potassium chloride symptoms, or the antipoters like potassium and potassium sodium antipoters or co-transporters. So these are the various transporters which are working in the electrolyte transportation, either from blood to the urine or from urine to the blood. Endocrine systems, so mostly from the adrenal gland. So our endocrine system, from which the various corticoids, mineralocorticoids, glucocorticoids, they are having effects on our heart and obviously on our hypertension. There are also several miscellaneous factors, for example our working, our daily habits, our way of life, lifestyle, our diet, all of things, they are miscellaneous factors. And also one important, it is unknown factor. Most of times it is unknown by which the hypertensive attack has been occurred. So these are the various causes of hypertension. Classification, as we have discussed earlier, there are basically two types. Pre-hypertension, it is 120 to 139. When it reaches up to 139, it is called pre-hypertension. And likewise in case of diastolic as well, from 80 to 89. And stage 1 and stage 2, in stage 1 it is from 140 to 159, it is systolic, and 90 to 99 it is diastolic. And in stage 2 it is above 160, and in diastolic it is above 100. If you will see again in several books, it has been described mild, moderate and severe. In mild from 140 to 159, in moderate above 160 to 179, and in severe above 180. So like these various categories, various classification is there. Now in incidence in India, and this is very highlight, you should see this figure. Almost 25% of urban population are suffering from hypertension, whereas in a rural area it is, the figure is 10%. So this is the figure in which nowadays the lifestyle has been changing day by day. That's why the number has been changing, not only in urban but also in from rural area. Earlier in rural area, not a single person was suffering from blood pressure, but nowadays in rural area also you will find the person from hypertension. 70% of all hypertensive patients are stage 1 hypertensions. 12% of hypertensive suffer from associated systolic hypertension. Who are at the risk? That one should know, because we have to prevent the disease. That is our primary goal. So that's why we must know who are at the risk, to whom we can securely do their escape from this hypertension. That's why we should know who are at the risk. So these are the various peoples who are at the risk. Advancing age, the people who are above 60 years, so they are more prone to this disease. Next, sex, men and postmenopausal women. Now here in case of sex, it is very uh, very surprisingly the results has been obtained from the survey that it causes mostly to the men. Out of 4 cases, only 1 case is female, 3 cases are from male. And likewise same thing in case of mortality rate also, means the people who are dying due to this hypertension, out of them 70% cases are from males, only 30% are from females mortality rate. Why? Because the reason is emotions. The men are not releasing their stress emotions by crying, whereas females, they are releasing their stress by crying. It is a fact. That's why mostly men are having high percentage of mortality rates. Now, and in case of females who are especially postmenopausal women who are having age above 45, there is no estrogen, due to which they may have problem of hypertension. Now next is family history of cardiovascular disease. If you are having family history, if your grandfather, if your mother, father, grandmother, it means especially from the genes, if it is genetic, from the genes, if it is there, you can carry the same genes and you are carrying the same disease as well. Sedentary lifestyle and psychosocial stress. If your lifestyle is very luxurious, if you are not doing any work, if you are not having any physical exertion, but if you are having any mental stress, if you are having lots of psychosocial burden on you, if you are continuously on the highlight position, so due to which the psychosocial stress, it can develop. Smoking, if you are having smoking habits, daily smoking habits, if you are a chain smoker, definitely it can persist your disease. High cholesterol diet, because due to the cholesterol, what it do, it deposits on your blood vessels, and due to which the peripheral resistance will develop, and ultimately effect is increase in blood pressure. Low fruit consumption, nowadays nobody is consuming the fresh fruit, everybody want to take the fruit juice, which is very worse, which is very old, which they are also containing the lots of preservatives, but nobody would like to take a fresh fruit or fresh fruit juice. Even I am telling you that you should take a fresh fruit. If you buy a apple, or if you buy a simple banana or any fruit which contains the fibers, which contain vitamin C, which contains the iron, vitamin B complex, so they are very good for our health. And also whatever the sugar they are having, they are nothing but the natural sugars, so they are not having any toxic effects on our body. Obesity and weight gain, if you are having obese person, there will be chances of hypertension. Coexisting disorders such as diabetes, it is very worse. 100% if you are having diabetes, you may get counted into the hypertension. And also hyperlipidemia, means atherosclerosis, it also leads into the hypertension. And high intake of alcohol, if you are taking alcohol for several period, after few days, if you are becoming chain alcoholic person, definitely you may have hypertension. Now, hyperdynamic pattern in hypertension in young: increase in blood pressure, it increase cardiac output, and TPR, it is the peripheral resistance, total peripheral resistance. In elderly, increase in blood pressure results into the decreasing cardiac output and increase in total peripheral resistance. Now, etiological systemic hypertension. Secondary hypertension, it is almost 5%. Renal, 80%. It may occur due to the acute glomerulonephritis and also due to the chronic glomerulonephritis and also due to the chronic pyelonephritis, which occur due to your pyloric area of our kidney. So after that, polycyst, if polycyst has been developed. So these are the various conditions which may persist, which may precipitate our hypertensions, which may result into the renal artery stenosis. It is nothing but the hardening of our renal artery. Also, accumulation of your renal artery, narrowing of our renal artery will occur, and which may result into the hypertension. Endocrine, adrenal gland. The adrenal gland is responsible for primary aldosteronism. There is release of aldosterone and which results into the hypertension. Cushing syndrome. Cushing syndrome occurs due to the high release of cortisol. It is a corticosteroid which released from your adrenal cortex, and this is results into the various symptoms. What is Cushing syndrome? Cushing syndrome is nothing but the when we are having the symptoms like puffy face, moon-like face, and we are having the buffalo hump in between the shoulder. There is a pad of fats and it looks like a buffalo hump, and also our arms are become very weak, and there is ascite develop into your peritoneum cavity. Lots of ascites, bruising is there, your wound is not going to be healed very easily, and we are also having disturbances into the menstruation. So these are the various symptoms of Cushing syndrome. And also in case of male, there is a erectile dysfunctioning will also occur. Next is pheochromocytoma. It is nothing but the release of the enzymes which which occurs when there is cancer to your adrenal gland occurs. So pheochromocytoma is nothing but the symptoms of our cancer of our adrenal gland. Acromegaly, it is also one of the cause of hypertension. Acromegaly, as we know, why, how it occurs? It occurs when there is increase of growth hormone at adulthood. At adulthood, the growth hormone is going to be stopped, but when it persists, it continues, so that will develop the acromegaly. And next is exogenous hormone like oral contraceptives. When you are taking these hormones regularly daily, it will also develop this condition like hypertension. And also glucocorticoids, when you are taking that drugs like prednisolone or betamethasone, like these drugs continuously you are taking for longer period. And hypothyroidism and hyperparathyroidism. So these are the various symptoms, just various causes which may leads into the hypertension. Others, coarctation of aorta. What is this coarctation? Coarctation of aorta is nothing, it is the birth, it is congenital, it is birth defect. What happens in that? It leads into the narrowing of your aortic vessel. Our aorta is going to be narrow, and due to which the lots of blood pressure occurs. It gives lots of pressure, and also it is responsible for backflow of the blood, and it is called coarctation of aorta. Next other symptom is pregnancy induced hypertension. It is pre and eclampsia, that we will see later on. Sleep apnea syndrome. So when during sleep when there is difficulty in breathing, it may results into the hypertension. It is called sleep apnea syndrome. Now, why to treat? Now, this is attributed to the hypertension. So, this hypertension which also leads into the various problems. They will precipitate another problems. They will increase the another disease. Now, we will start from this heart failure. If hypertension persists, it may leads into the hypertension. Heart failure means heart will collapse, heart attack will occur, and person will die. Left ventricular hypertrophy. So our left ventricle's size is going to be enlarged, increase. Next is myocardial infarctions, means our myocardial muscle, our muscle of our cardiac heart is not going to be relaxed and contracts. Contractility is going to be lost, so it results into the myocardial infarctions. Our contraction is going to be lost from our muscle, myocardial muscle. Coronary heart disease or coronary artery occlusion occurs, and due to which it leads into the angina pectoris. It is also one of the problematic condition when it accompanied with hypertension. Listen, this is the worst condition. This is the one evil, and when one evil will join hand to hand with another evil, definitely it will take your life. That's why you should take cautions. And next is hypertensive encephalopathy. What is this? It is the condition when our brain is going to be decrease its functioning. It can leads into the trauma or coma like condition also. Mental confusion will occur. Our brain effectivity is going to be lost. So it is called hypertensive encephalopathy. Cerebral hemorrhage, it is a very worse condition. So from our cerebral part, so continue bleeding will occur, and this bleeding will also leads into the death. Pre-eclampsia and eclampsia. Now here we will discuss both the conditions. What is first we will discuss pre-eclampsia. What is pre-eclampsia? It is a condition. It occurs during pregnancy. During pregnancy it occurs, and when it starts from the 20th week of pregnancy. And what are the symptoms of this? Especially it is accompanied with the high blood pressure. In preeclampsia, it is accompanied with the high blood pressure, and also it is combined with the another factor when there is protein occurs in our urine. So these both come together, they are forming this eclampsia, preeclampsia. And what is eclampsia? This eclampsia may observe during pregnancy as well as after the birth of the fetus. Especially it occurs after the birth of the fetus. And in this condition there is seizures occurs, grand mal epilepsy, seizures occurs, convulsion occurs after the birth or just before the birth. So it is called eclampsia. And also that female is also having the high blood pressure. So this is called eclampsia. I hope I have clarified your queries. Try to understand what I am telling. Don't get confused between both the terms. Both the terms are different, both are having different meaning. Now next is stroke. As we know, anaphylactic shock, suddenly stroke will occur and person will die also. Now chronic kidney failure. If the kidney failure occurs for longer period, the person will die also. By suddenly kidney will stop to do its function due to this combined effect with hypertension. Blindness also going to be developed due to this hypertension. Aortic aneurysm also one of the cause of hypertension. This aortic aneurysm is the condition. This aortic aneurysm is nothing but the when there is enlargement of aorta, it almost 1.5 times larger than the normal aorta, and it mostly occurs to the aorta which provides blood to your pelvic cavity or thoracic cavity. It's thoracic region or your pelvic region. or towards the portal region. Now, gangrene of lower extremities, it also leads due to this hypertensions. So in this fashion we have come across with the attributed to the hypertensions. Now target organ damage, heart, left ventricular hypertrophy may occur, angina or myocardial infarctions also occurs, heart failure, brain, stroke may occur, suddenly person can die, fainting will occur, transient ischemic attack will occur, chronic disease, peripheral arterial disease, retinopathy due to which the blindness will develop, CVD risk. The blood pressure relationship to the risk of CVD is continuous, consistent and independent of other risk factors. Pre-hypertension signals the need for increased education to reduce blood pressure in order to prevent hypertension. Diagnosis: how to diagnose? No specific complaints or manifestations other than elevated systolic or diastolic blood pressure is there. Now this, as we know, this blood pressure is silent killer. So morning occipital headache is one of the symptoms which may occurs. Another is dizziness, means lightheadedness, nothing is in our brain. Fatigue, person will going to be weaken than normal, immediately tired after doing a short term of work also. In severe hypertension, epistaxis may occur. What is epistaxis? When the bleeding occurs from the nose, that condition is called as epistaxis. And also blood vision, it will also affects on our eyes, because retinopathy may develop, due to which the vision is going to be affected. Now self measurement of blood pressure, it provides information on response to antihypertensive therapy, improving adherence with therapy, evaluating white coat hypertensions. Home measurement of more than 135/80 mmHg is generally considered to be hypertensive. Home measurement device should be checked regularly, so we should bring that sphygmomanometer at our home and regularly we should check to the patients, because nobody knows at which time, at which day it will increase or decrease. So we should constantly monitor our blood pressure. Now, measuring blood pressure, how to measure, that we are discussing here. Patient seated quietly for at least 5 minutes on the chair with feet on the floor and arms supported at the heart level. An approximately sized cuff bladder encircle at least 80% of the arm, means we have to wrap that specialized rubber which having air in that. So at least take at least 2 measurements. After that, with this pump we should increase the pressure to the wrap cuff on the hand, and after that we should release the pressure slowly. So systolic blood pressure is point at which the first of the two or more sound is heard. Now here, when we are releasing the air from this bulb, so what you should do, you should check the sound when you are attaching that stethoscope to our ear. So lubbed up sound will start. So from that point it is the systolic blood pressure, and it will end with the diastolic blood pressure, means the sound will continue release from our stethoscope, and it will disappear when it will show the diastolic blood pressure figure. So in this fashion we have to check the blood pressure, and we have to take at least 2 readings, so to ensure whatever we have figure we have got or whatever recording we have done, it is correct or not. Ambulatory blood pressure monitoring, information about blood pressure during daily activities and sleep. So we should check at sleep also, and in the morning also we should check at 2 times. Correlate better than office measurement with target organ injury. Now laboratory test that we can do, routine test is enterocardiogram, electrocardiogram, ECG you should take. After that, urine analysis, means you should check the what are the various what are the various excreta which are released into the urine, whether they are normal or not. Means we should check both the elements, either we should check the normal values or abnormal values. So what are the abnormal elements? If they are coming into your urine, then you should check, you should monitor, you should see their figures, numbers, whether they are increasing or decreasing. Blood glucose, you should continuously monitor what is the blood glucose, it is whether it is 100 mg per dl or it is more than that you should constantly check. Serum protein, creatinine or corresponding estimated that glomerular filtration rate, and calcium, lipid profile also need to be checked routinely after each month. If you are at the borderline, you should after each month you should check lipid profile also. Optional test, measurement of urinary albumin excretion and albumin creatinine ratio. More extensively testing for identifiable case is not generally. How to treat, it is very important. Goal of therapy, lifestyle modification, it is very important, and also by doing this we can prevent our hypertensions. Pharmacological treatment, obviously I have to give the drugs also. Algorithm for treatment of hypertension and follow up the monitoring. Monitoring is very important. Daily we have to monitor the patients. Now goals of therapy: reduce the cardiac and renal morbidity and mortality. Treat blood pressure if it is more than 140/90, also 130/80. So don't ignore if it is increase. If it is increase by your exercise or by some stress, then it is normal, but suddenly if it is increasing without any reason, then it is problematic conditions. And if small rise is there but patient is diabetic or chronic kidney disease, so you should be extra conscious for those patients. Now these are the various points that we should discuss. It is very important. This is the part of non-pharmacological treatment, or also in case of controlling the hypertension or prevention of hypertension, how we can prevent. So there are the various steps that one should know. DASH diet. What is DASH diet? The DASH diet is nothing but the diet which is accompanied to stop hypertension. It is a diet which is accompanied with the stop hypertension. That specific diet we should take. So what it includes? It includes we should decrease the intake of sodium, means salt. After that we should take the less oils, we should take the less fat diet, we should take the diet which is having fruit, which contain the more and more green vegetables, which is having less meat, less non-veg, less dairy products, less products from the bakery products. So you should take the products which are very fresh and which are very healthy, so they will come under the category of this DASH diet. You should take the balanced diet which will give you all vitamins or minerals, some sort of fats, some sort of proteins and carbohydrates and all these things. Regular exercise, it is advisable to the patients who is having hypertension. They should go for yoga classes, pranayam. They should go for daily walking is compulsory. If you can't do anything, at least you can do the walking, at least 1 hour walking in the morning. It is advisable to the patients who are taking medications or to avoid the hypertension also. If you are doing this daily, so I don't think any chances of hypertension will occur in your life. Lose weight if you are obese. Check your BMI, basal mass index. If your body mass index is more than normal, so in that case you should try to decrease your weight. Suppose if your height is 150 centimeter and if your body weight is 70 kg, so it should be 50 kg. It is a simple rule to check your body mass index. And if you are having height of 180 centimeter, so your weight should be 80, not 100. If you are having 100 kg, you should decline, you should decrease it up to 80 or less than that. So you should be normal body weight, not than normal. If you are having high body weight, you should try to decline. Reduce salt and high fat diet because it is worse your condition. Avoid harmful habits, smoking and alcohol, and also take your food at proper time. You should fix the time of your diet, your meal. When you are taking your lunch, when you are taking your dinner, you should not take dinner at the time more than 8 o'clock. You should take your dinner before 8 o'clock. Try to develop that habit. Now lifestyle modification: lose weight at all already if overweight. Increase physical activity. We are doing mental activity, but it will increase your blood pressure if you are doing mental activity, if you are taking any stress. But try to do some physical activity. So simply I told you, do the morning walk. Reduce salt intakes, stop smoking, limit intake of food rich in fats and cholesterol. That's why try to avoid the hotelings. If you are taking the food from hotels, they are having lots of fat, lots of oils, and also try to avoid the non-veg items, dry items. So they will increase the cholesterol and fats. Increase consumption of fruits and vegetables, fresh fruits and fresh vegetables you should take. Limit alcohol intake or do the stoppage. Be abstinence for alcohol if you are more prone to have hypertension. Lifestyle modifications: if you are doing that modification, how it affects on our blood pressure, that you can see here. Weight reduction, which results into the almost 5 to 20 mmHg can be decreased. Adopt DASH eating plan, it will decline from 8 to 14 mmHg. Dietary sodium reduction 2 to 8 mmHg. Physical activities 2 to 9 mmHg, and moderation of alcohol consumption 2 to 4 mmHg. So ultimately it will decrease your blood pressure. Now there are various drugs which are affecting on the various parts of your body. Now the sympathetic nerve terminates this gonethidine, and the reserpine is the drug. Now beta receptor, the drugs which are acting on beta receptor, beta blockers, for example propranolol, metoprolol. After that the angiotensin receptor, the drugs like losartan, they are inhibiting your angiotensin receptors. The alpha blockers, for example prazosin, terrajosins. The kidney, the drugs which are acting on your kidney, for example thiazides, spironolactone, or the furosemide. Now the angiotensin converting enzyme, the drugs like captopril, diapril, lisinopril. Now here the centrally acting symptolytics, the drugs like methyl-dopa, clonidine, guanfacine, and the sympathetic ganglia, sympathetic ganglia, the drugs like trimethophan. And the vascular smooth muscle means the drug which acting on our blood vessels, they are increasing their diameter. So the drugs like hydrolyzing minoxidils, and the drugs are the beta receptors of juxtaglomerular cells that release renin. So the drugs which are inhibiting the release of renin, the drugs like beta blockers. So in this fashion there is classification of drugs, how they are working on the various parts or the various centers. Drug therapy for hypertension. Now the diuretics, their initial dose is 12.5 mg. Beta blockers 25 to 50 mg. Calcium amlodipine 2.5 to 5 mg. And this is the usual maintenance dose. You should start with the initial dose and maintain by its maintenance dose. Now hydrochlorothiazide, it is a diuretic. It decreases the blood pressure by decreasing the blood volume. It releases the extra salt, and as you know what is the property of salt, when salt releases from our body, it go along with the molecule of water, and when it decreases from the body, it also decreases the blood volume, and the blood volume will decrease. There is decreased peripheral resistance. Total peripheral resistance is going to be decreased, and due to which blood pressure is going to be decreased. So decreased resistance, and also drug of choice for elderly hypertensives. They are having certain side effects like hypokalemia, hyponatremia, hyperlipidemia. So we can fix this problem of hypokalemia, hyponatremia by giving the drug like spironolactone or triamterene. These are the potassium sparing diuretics. They are also conserving your potassiums. Now next drug is beta blockers. The drugs like atenolol, metoprolol, nebivolol. So they are specially acting on beta 1 receptor. As we know, beta 1 receptor is specially for action on heart. If you want your action on heart, your drug must act on beta 1 receptor. So this is the drug. Now there are in early days we are using the drug which are mixed blocker, but nowadays we are using the drug specific selective blocker. So this is a drug atenolol, metoprolol. They are selectively acting on beta 1 receptor and they are decreasing our heart rate and your blood pressure. So they are decreasing rate and force of contraction and they reduce the cardiac outputs. But they are having certain side effects like lethargy, impotency, bradycardia, decrease in our heart rate, bradycardia, lethargy. They are having the restlessness, tiredness develops. Amlodipine, the blocks the entry of calcium through calcium channels. They causes vascular dilatation and reduce peripheral resistance. Their side effects are flushing, headache, and pedal edema. What is pedal edema? Pedal edema is nothing but the edema means accumulation of fluid occurs and your legs at your feet. So at your feet or your ankle level, when the accumulation of fluid occurs, that condition is called as pedal edema. AC inhibitors like ramipril, lisinopril, they inhibiting the AC and formation of angiotensin second. This AC angiotensin converting enzyme, this AC enzyme is responsible for conversion of angiotensin 1 to angiotensin 2. What is angiotensin 1? Angiotensin 1 is released from the liver, but it is in inactive form. When it become active, when that angiotensin 1 will get converted into the angiotensin 2, and for that this enzyme is required, ACE, and this enzyme is blocked by this drug ACE inhibitor, and these drugs are ramipril, lisinopril, and due to which the blood pressure is going to be decreased. They are having side effects like dry cough, hypotension, and angioedema. What is angioedema? When the accumulation of fluid occurs into our blood vessels, it is called as angioedema. Angiotensin second receptor blocker like losartan, they directly block the angiotensin second receptor, due to which they effects into the inhibition of angiotensin second, and they are safer than ACE. They are having the side effect like hypotension. Any drug if you will take for longer period for hypertension, they will definitely produce the hypotension. Now this is the alpha blockers like prazosin. They are selectively acting on alpha 1 receptor, and by which they are also decreasing our blood pressure, and their major side effect is postural hypotension. What is this postural hypotension? Postural, the word indicates its meaning. When we are changing our posture, suppose if you are laying down on the bed and suddenly if you will stand on your leg, so it will change your posture and it will develop into the hypertension. If you are sitting on the chair normally for longer period and suddenly if you stand from the chair, so it will develop the blood pressure, and that condition is called as postural hypotension, and due to which our blood pressure is going to be decreased. Hypotension, decrease in your blood pressure, it occurs when you are changing your posture from laying down to the standing position, and it will decrease your blood pressure. Now the algorithm of the treatment of hypertension, especially we have to change our lifestyle modification change. So not a goal blood pressure when you are having 140/90 and 130/80 when you are having diabetes or chronic kidney disease. So we should change our lifestyle and it will start to show its effects. After that, initial drug choice, by changing Again, if it persists, you should go for the initial drug choice. So without compelling indications, means if you are not having any indication, means any symptoms, any severe symptoms, so in that case it is first stage of hypertension. So in that case we should start with the one dose. Mostly you should go for the diuretics. In the diabetes you can go for the thiazide diuretics, it is having good effects. But if you are having at stage 2, means your blood pressure is more than 160, so in that condition you should start with the two drug therapy. First you should take the diuretics, mostly thiazide, and you should combine with the beta blocker or AC inhibitor or calcium channel blockers. Now without compilation, so when if you are having any symptoms along with that hypertensions with compelling, so in that condition you should take the drugs to decrease that symptom. So other than antihypertensive drugs like diuretics, so other drugs also you should add in this. Now, not at goal blood pressure, so optimize the dosage and add additional drugs. Means if it is not control, when it is get converted into the more severe condition, in that case we had to increase the drug, and as well as you should increase the dose, or we should change the drug also. So in this fashion we have to control this hypertension, we should treat this hypertension. Now choice of drugs, as we already discussed, there are various drugs which we can take in various conditions. For example, in case of asthma we should go for the calcium channel blockers. In case of diabetes we should go for the beta blockers. In case of high cholesterol we should go for the EC inhibitors. Elderly patient go for the calcium channel blockers. Now antihypertensive therapy side effects already we have discussed. Again we will discuss the calcium channel blockers. They will produce the fatal edema, headache. After that, the drugs like alpha blockers, they produce the postural hypotension or hypersensitivity. AC inhibitors, they produce the cough, hypotension, hypersensitivity, pregnancy. And the angiotensin second receptor, they will produce the headache, dizziness, etc. Now condition and prepared drugs. Now this is a very important chart that you should know. Now in case of pregnancy, what are the safer drugs? The drugs like calcium channel blockers like nifedipine and labetalol. This is the mixed alpha plus beta blocker, labetalol, hydralazine. These are the drugs which are used to increase the diameter of blood vessels. Beta blockers, methyl dopa and pyroxine. These are the safer drugs in case of pregnancy. Now in case of coronary heart disease, for example in case of angina, you should go for the drugs like beta blockers, AC inhibitors and calcium channel blockers. Now in case of congestive heart failure, we should go for the AC inhibitors and beta blockers. Now causes of resistant hypertension. Improper blood pressure measurement. It is also one of the worst condition when we are not checking the blood pressure properly. So you should be skillful, you should know how to check the blood pressure, and very correctly you should identify the person is having blood pressure or not. If you are doing mistake, definitely you are playing the life of person. Excess sodium intake, it is also one of the very worst condition. If you are taking the sodium though you are having hypertension, so definitely nobody will save you. Inadequate diuretic therapy. After that, medication, inadequate doses. If you are not following the heart specialist properly, if you are not following his instructions, his suggestions, so it will also leads into the problematic condition. Drug actions, interactions. After that, if you are taking the NSAIDs drugs without the discussion with your cardiologist, also the illicit drugs, means the drugs which has been banned by the government, these are the illegal drugs. Like if you are taking the morphine, if you are taking the heroin, or you are taking the like other drugs like LSD like that, or ketamine, and also the sympathomimetic drugs or oral contraceptive pills if you are taking, so it will also worse the condition. If you are taking the oral contraceptive pills for longer period, definitely it will increase your blood pressure. Or the counter drugs and some herbal supplements. Excess alcohol intake also will worse your conditions, and identifiable causes of hypertension. Now take home message, this is very important, how we can manage the hypertension. The hypertension is major cause of morbidity and mortality and need to be treated. It is an extremely common disease, however it is still underdiagnosed and undertreated. Hypertension is easy to diagnose and easy to treat. Aim of management is to save the target organ from the deleterious effect. Beside pharmacology, we have other choices, and one has to be acquainted with that choice. Lifestyle modification should always be encouraged in all hypertensive patients. So in this fashion we have covered this hypertension. I hope you understood the whole chapter. Thank you for hearing me. Bye.